Hello, dear listener, dear viewer. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe, your host of this program, Mogobe's Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Today I'm going to talk about, breaking through limitations. But there's a slight twist because there's a bit of a heavy religious element. Let me give you the background. Recently, my church invited me to go and speak to prisoners at First Offenders Prison, and the experience was very invigorating, very challenging, and very interesting for me. So after I had shared this message with the prisoners, it was a sermon at the time, I saw a certain hunger for that message. And then, one of my friends suggested, look, why don't you share this message with your YouTubers, with your Facebookers, or with other people on social media? I said, that's not a bad idea. So this is a bit of a sermonette, that is a shortened sermon. So I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it. It's a slight variation from talking about entrepreneurship all the time. So I'm talking about, motivation and enthusiasm, because I'm talking about motivation and enthusing and energizing us from a slightly different angle. So here are the top 10 nuggets of wisdom on how to break through limitations. Now, limitations come in many forms, but most of the limitations that stop us are the ones we created in our own minds with our own thinking. So I'm going to talk about breaking through limitations that are in the mind, because Shakespeare said that nothing is ever good or bad, it's just thinking that makes it so. And I'm also going to be keeping in mind that some of these limitations are artificial, we make them for ourselves. So please, let's dig into it. Number one, consider the story of the great heroes. I sometimes consider the stories of our founding fathers, people like Sasratsa Khama. I consider the story of Nelson Mandela. I consider the story of Roger Bannister even. Roger Bannister is the guy who broke the 4-minute mile. I consider the story of the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers came up with flight. All these people, when you think about them, all these heroes, what they did, what they achieved was considered impossible until they did it. So it's helpful sometimes to think in those terms and say, look, what did the heroes do? What situations came before me which were considered impossible or considered difficult or considered limitations, and the fact that they broke through and they managed to do it means that there's prospect for me to doing it. That's number one. Number two, change your circumstances. I read somewhere that Napoleon, when his generals came to him and said, circumstances this, circumstances that, they are preventing us from doing this and that, he would say to them, what circumstances? I make circumstances. So that is the kind of attitude you need to have, that to believe that you can make circumstances and change them. For instance, in the book of Deuteronomy, I think it's chapter 1, verse 1, there's somewhere where the children of Israel are told that you've been in this mountain long enough. It's time to move on. And where they are literally told that they have to resume their journey and move on to another place. So I would say to you that it's time to make a move. It's time to grab onto that opportunity and do something about it. Number three, stop spinning your wheels in one place. You have to consciously and deliberately tell yourself that this is enough. You've been in one place for too long. I think in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 4, it talks of the falling down of strongholds. Sometimes you have these psychological barriers which are like strongholds. Maybe it's an abuse you suffered as a child. Maybe it's someone who's been particularly harsh to you, and some people who've made you believe that you are incapable of getting anything done. You need to fight those strongholds, those things that have been repetitively told to you, and fight through them. So, break through, and stop spinning your wheels in one place, and move away from that mountain. That is number three. Number four is stop focusing on the obstacles. The tendency is to focus too much on the difficulty, on the setback, on the fact that you are stuck. Get your mind off that. Enough with complaining, enough with bickering, enough with murmuring about your challenges and so on. It's time to get moving and to get beyond those limitations. And after all, the obstacle is in fact the way you penetrate through to the next stop. Number 5, I beg your pardon. Think of today as a new day. The fact that you are still breathing, the fact that you've seen a new day today is an indication that you are still useful and you can still do something different. So start the day anew, start the challenge anew. Think of it as an opportunity to start afresh completely. So focus on, and then what you do there is you focus on the prize, you focus on the target, you focus on the outcome, as opposed to just focusing on the obstacle that is before you. Number six, stretch your faith and energize your vision. How do you do that? How do you stretch your faith and you energize your vision? For you to get to a spiritual breakthrough, you need to remind yourself what you are working towards. Focus on the vision. The vision has to be completely in front of you. If you need to have pictures of your goal, whether it's a car, whether it's a building, whether it's a particular particular achievement that you have focused on, have a piece of paper, have it on the wall. I mean, I've seen people create vision boards, for instance, to help them go through the rut or help them go through a difficult period. Number 7, recognize the power of one. What is the power of one? The power of one is when divinity and humanity get together, they create a majority. My argument is that when you are with God and when you are facing a particular challenge with the help of God, you become one. You become the majority. Divinity and humanity becomes the majority to deal with whatever it is that you have to tackle. Number 8, do not be like a circus elephant. This one I'm going to spend a bit of time on to explain to you what a circus elephant is in the first place. Normally they take these elephants when they are little babies and they knock them. The circus master will create a stake and tie the elephant to that stake, which is a big wooden stake. And the elephant will try to move for a period of 2-3 years. Maybe when it's still small, it will try to move. But at some point, maybe after 2 years or so, it believes that it cannot move away from that stake. In the meantime, the elephant continues to grow and become a colossal creature. But because it's ingrained in its mind that it cannot move, it cannot shake itself off, it accepts the situation as is. So do not accept the situation as is, because you are not a circus elephant. And do not be like a circus elephant. Do not accept those limitations, because you have gained power, you've gained knowledge, you've gained experience, and in fact, that obstacle is also weakening. It's also deteriorating. So it's not the same obstacle that it was when it started. So do not be like a circus elephant and try again and again and again. Number 9, use a regret minimization strategy. What is this about? This is I got this from the richest man in the world, who's currently Jeff Bezos. When he was interviewed some years ago, he said the reason he started Amazon is that he didn't want to be stuck in a rut. He wanted to employ a regret minimization strategy, so that when he's on his rocking chair at age 80, he is at least able to tell himself that I minimize the prospects of regret by at least taking a chance and doing something about my challenge at the relevant time. So apply that regret minimization strategy. Number 10, activate your desire and your faith through action. I've often spoken to various audiences about the triangle of success. At the bottom is desire, on the side is faith, on this side is action. So you need to activate your desire and faith through execution, through action, through implementation. Do something. Do not just talk about the problem. Do something about it. Confront it in one way or the other. Number 11, this now is a bonus. Use mantras, incantations, and repetitive statements. What do I mean by mantras and incantations? I'll give you an example. For instance, it is a common saying that winners never quit and quitters never win. So you can have a mantra like winners never quit, quitters never win. Winners never quit, quitters never win. You could also have something as simple as we shall overcome, I shall overcome, and repeat this over and over and over. By doing so, you are in fact energizing your cells. you are actually moving yourself at a cellular level so that it comes in at a subconscious level where you can do something about your circumstances and change. So those are the top 10 nuggets of wisdom as to how to break through limitations, with the bonus of having to do with incantations. So dear viewer, dear listener, that's all I have for you this time around. This is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe signing off, and please remember to subscribe. Thank you so much.